Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Shazam Political Vigilante, bringing truth to the citizens of Gotham. This is the People's Channel. I can't do the show without you, and I very much appreciate it. You're the best and smartest audience in the world. Sign up for my newsletter, folks. It's a great way to take the power out of the social media companies, because if I have a big email list, I can just email you once a month, tell you shows I've got coming on, other stuff I'm doing. We had a great Anything Can Happen live game show. It was so much fun. Some of you watched it on the live stream. And if I have a big email list, no one can take that away from me. So it's a way for me to empower myself, since I keep getting censored no matter where I go. My new special is out, Manifest It. Please check it out at grahamelwood.com. Because what's happening is big censorship. And what at the core of what is happening is America is losing its power and its influence, as empires that start to collapse do. And one of the things that is a big threat to them is BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So when Lula got elected, a lot of people in America and the Western media were like, yay, good for Lula, because Bolsonaro was awful. I did several videos on Bolsonaro. He was right-wing fascist. He didn't care about COVID. He literally said, man, people got to die of something. He did not care. Let people die. He's a rich, right-wing, just complete jackass. Lula, who was president several times, very populist, very workers' rights, very left, like real left, not fake Democrat left, but like actual left, Workers' Party. And they put him in jail. He was so popular, they put him in jail. He gets out of jail and he immediately wins. And so everyone in the West and America's like, yay, Lula's back. And I'm like, yeah, he is. And what does he start doing? Oh, he goes to China. He's opening up economic ties with China. Oh, the BRICS countries are all like, we're done using the dollar. Oh, that's a big threat. That's a big threat to America's power. America's hegemony, as that's how we do it. We stuff the dollar down everyone's throat. You have to use our currency. And all these Russia, China, they're like, we don't want to use the dollar anymore. Now in India, I mean, you're talking about BRICS. The BRICS countries is practically half of the planet's population, right? So another thing Lula did is he is talking about peace in Ukraine. Well, that's a big no-no, man, because that's not good for business. And the American war machine can't profit off of peace. So now that he's advocating for this, and he wants Ukraine and Russia to sit at the table and negotiate. This is something that Putin was open to doing, in the beginning of 2022 before the invasion. This is something Zelensky was open to doing until the West got in his ear, namely Boris Johnson, the then Prime Minister of England, flew to Ukraine, said something to Zelensky, and then right after that meeting, Zelensky's like, hell no, Russia, and we're going to put NATO nukes on our soil, and then Putin invades. And I think Russia is very open to peace talks. The Ukrainian people, by and large, they don't want this war on their soil. They would really like peace. It's easy for Americans to say, yeah, go fight the Ruskies. When a war's on your soil, it's hell on earth. Most Americans, unless you immigrated from a war-torn country, if you grew up in America, you do not know what a war on your soil is like. If you grew up in Western Europe or Australia or Canada, you do not know what a war on your soil is like. Even a bad neighborhood, even crime field, even the gun violence we have in America, which is awful. It's not like rockets and no power and no food and just, it is a rocket attack is one of the most scary things. And you're so powerless, you're so helpless, and they want to be done with this war. And so does the rest of the world, except America, which is then forcing NATO countries to do this. There's huge protests. I've shown you videos throughout the fall and in the winter of all of these European countries having giant, massive anti-NATO protests because America's just dragging everyone down. And so people are forming alliances and they don't want to be a part of America's war machine anymore. Well, so now we're going to attack Lula. That's what the West is going to do. West outlets send warning to Lula over Ukraine dissent. Brazil's president is being criticized for the mistake of proposing peace. This is how you know America is a just psycho country. We preach this whole peace and democracy, and we only, speak softly, but carry a big stick. No. We want to swing our big stick and smash everyone and make money from it. So this is what's happened. Former and current Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's brief honeymoon with the U.S. corporate media hit its first roadblock this week. As a minor story repeated in Reuters and AP generated headlines in Brazil's newspapers, with its largest O Globo running an editorial with a thinly veiled coup threat. Wow. After years of character assassinations, U.S. establishment outlets such as the New York Times eased up on Lula during the last 2 years as a series of scandals record Amazon deforestation, the assassination of Guardian Washington Post journalist Dom Phillips, and a cozy relationship with Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, and their far-right cronies made it impossible to support the re-election of neo-fascist President Jair Bolsonaro. They really wanted to support Bolsonaro. That was the other thing. If you learned about Bolsonaro, you're like, he's awful. But secretly, the West was like, look, we love a good dictator if they let America do what it does, whatever it wants. We love it. That's why Bolsonaro, they're letting him hang out in Miami, just like Juan Guaido. Every like horrible dictator that's backed by the U.S. gets to go to Miami whenever they lose an election. So criticizing the Lula administration could appear to offer tacit support to the Republican Party in alliance with its preferred outlets like Fox News, which ran an election season documentary warning about the transformation of Brazil into a colony of its largest commercial trading partner, China, if Bolsonaro was not reelected. So that's what this is about. It's, their trading partner with China. There's I think around 200 million people in Brazil. It's an emerging economy. And I'm telling you, I said this when it happened, when El Salvador made Bitcoin its currency. There's now villages in Guatemala that are using Bitcoin. There's villages and towns in Costa Rica that are using Bitcoin. There is a bill in the Costa Rican Congress. I don't know where it's at, but they're proposing making Bitcoin the main currency, just like El Salvador. And I said this about El Salvador. I said it's the first domino. And at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if Lula goes, Brazil's going to Bitcoin. We'll see. But the fact that he's forming economic ties with China is a threat to America. We cannot let China become an economic superpower. Oh, wait, it already is. So we've got to demonize China as this evil. They spend $200 billion a year on military. We spend $858 billion a year on military. So we're going to try to say, so now they're going to now start painting Lula as some evil dictator. Well, Bolsonaro, his dictator was fine. Lula's a lefty. He's not a dictator. So this is these articles that just came out. Even as Lula's diplomatic trip to China approached, this balanced coverage continued as demonstrated in the Times April 14th article. Brazil's Lula meets Xi in China as they seek path to peace in Ukraine. So this is April 14th. The piece included this accurate explanation of Brazil's position on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This is from the New York Times. Brazil has criticized Russia's invasion in carefully worded statements, but its position is complicated by its reliance on Russia for about a quarter of its fertilizer imports, which are crucial to Brazil's enormous agricultural industry. Mr. Lula has also suggested that Ukraine's president and NATO share some blame for the war. You can't, And blaming NATO means blaming the United States because the United States runs NATO. And he has resisted calls to send weapons to Ukraine. There you go. Lula signed 15 bilateral agreements with Chinese president, including a joint venture for satellite manufacture and abandonment of the dollar in trade between nations. That's what that's again, getting rid of the dollar and cozying up to China economically is a threat to America. And America's going to react like all crumbling empires. Sanctions, war, threats. We're going to have aircraft carriers go down near Rio or some nonsense like that. But Lula gave this to a Chinese news station that was not really covered by the Western media. How are we going to achieve peace in Russia and Ukraine if nobody is talking about peace? Everybody's talking about war. Everybody's talking about giving more weapons to Ukraine to attack Russia, or of NATO moving its border to the border of Russia. So what are we looking for? Countries that want peace? China wants peace. Brazil wants peace. Indonesia wants peace. India wants peace. So we have to bring these countries together and make a peace proposal for Russia and Ukraine. Oh, peace is bad for business. Later during the press conference in China, he said it takes patience to talk with the president of Ukraine, but we have to, above all, convince the countries that are supplying weapons, encouraging war, to stop. That means America. That means NATO countries, right? In February, Brazil's Minister of Foreign Affairs invited his counterparts in Ukraine and Russia to visit Brazil. One of them, Lavrov, took him up on his offer, announcing he would arrive in Brasilia shortly after Lula's return from China. During the press conference after their meeting, Lavrov said, "As for the process in Ukraine, we are grateful to our Brazilian friends for their excellent understanding of this situation's genesis. We are grateful to them for striving to contribute to finding ways to settle it." Peace talk. The meeting with the Russian diplomat appeared to be the last straw. You can't meet with Russia and want to propose peace, because peace, well, not only are you saving people from dying, especially innocent people and just soldiers or whatever, then it makes America look bad. We're not the good guys in this. Lula announced on Twitter, right? So after he meets with Russia, that's when Reuters and AP attacks Lula, right? This is where that evening on Twitter, after he meets with a Russian official, Reuters and AP ran similar articles quoting the same U.S. government official, which were immediately disseminated in partner news organizations around the world. This is the AP story. Brazil's welcome of Russian minister prompts U.S. blowback. Usually sharp rebuke from the White House, right? John Kirby blasting Brazil's stance on the conflict. Brazil has substantively and radically approached this issue by suggesting that the United States and Europe are somehow not interested in peace, which is true. Lula is saying the truth. You can't keep funding Ukraine with weapons and just screaming war, and then say, oh, we're for peace. Or that we share responsibility for the war. In this case, Brazil is parroting Russian and Chinese propaganda. Oh, boy. As U.S. economic power continues to wane south of its border as a result of what many refer to as a new Cold War against China, the U.S. government and its allies in the media continue to try to assert imperial influence over Latin America. Wow. The newspaper, this is O Globo, the nation's highest circular newspaper, ran an editorial in April 17th criticizing Lula's calls for peace. The newspaper, which only apologized for its support for Brazil's far-right military, yeah, so they're trying to, and this is, let me show you this. So this is something, I've shown you this many times. Where is it? The Propaganda Multiplier. Yes. So let me bring this up, the Propaganda Multiplier. So I want to show you how this works. When they say Reuters and AP say something, and then here. See how this works? Okay. So you see up there, the top three, I know it's kind of small. You see the White House, the CIA, and the Pentagon. Okay. Then they give the information to AP, Reuters, and then all of these small boxes below, then that's all the major news outlets. So the news comes from one source. It goes to Reuters and AP, and then everybody picks it up. CNN, Fox, NPR. So it seems like, boy, this story is everywhere, man. It's coming from all sides. Even Fox, and when Fox and NPR agree on something, you know it must be true. That's how you feed propaganda. So, you're like, if NPR is telling me Lula shouldn't be talking to Russia and China, then maybe there's something there. See, this is the propaganda multiplier. This is how this works. So, that's, boy, that when the American empire is profiting from war. We helped push this war. Yeah, Putin invaded, but we could have avoided it if America was truly about peace. But we went in 2014 and started a civil war in Ukraine. There was a democratically elected president of Ukraine that was was very pro. Russians and Ukrainians are their sister countries. It's like Scotland and England. I mean, they speak the same language. They have families in both countries. And then we put a pro-NATO guy in there, and then we've been pushing for this. We've been pushing for this and pushing for this. So, but America is now becoming the isolated country with the BRICS countries and everybody getting rid of the dollar. Look, China just went and negotiated peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran. We could have an end to the war in Yemen, which is a horrific war that's cost 377,000 lives, a war America's helped and profited from. So China's brokering peace, Brazil's brokering peace, but America's brokering war. This is why I'm not voting for anybody with a D or an R by their name in the presidential election. Sorry. And I don't have any faith that Marianne Williamson or RFK are going to change the party from within. You just can't. That's why I own Bitcoin. So America is facing a big economic collapse, which is what happens at the end of empires. If you read any history books, every empire overspends money. They spread their military way too thin. They don't take care of its own citizens. And a handful of people at the top got all the money and power. Well, gee, does that sound familiar? So I applaud Lula. He's trying to broker peace. America could be brokering peace, but we don't because there's no money in it. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. Thanks for supporting the show, guys. I've got a bunch of live shows coming up. I'm in Maui, April 27th, Kona, April 28th. Honolulu, April 29th, and then May, I'm coming to Arizona, Phoenix, May 11th, Tucson, May 12th. More tour dates to come. Go to grahamelwood.com for all of the tour dates. There's political vigilante merchandise there. Sign up for the newsletter. You get a free vegan smoothie recipe. Support what we're doing because I don't get any money from the corporate media. I don't get any money from billionaires. So shave your knuckles for justice. That's how you make Gotham great again. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/GrahamElwood or rockfin.com/GrahamElwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to grahamelwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.